Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of BrickSide Chat. Today we got a few questions to go over. First one, starting with the Brick Dude, who asked, how did you settle on the name of your BrickLink store? Now that was something that I barely remember from 5 years ago, because this store was created 5 years ago. I can tell you that when we did do the store again, we just started in January again, I think what it was is I didn't want to go through the process of recreating another BrickLink account and getting verified as a seller and stuff. Plus, we would keep some of the feedback we had from the past. So for those of you who don't know, I've been on and off selling on BrickLink for 5 years now. This obviously is the most recent, everything behind me, kind of biggest expansion. I never had more than 9,000 parts before this. I do remember having one of those orange buckets you can get at Home Depot. It's like a 5-gallon bucket, I think. And I don't know where it was, if it was in my room or if I was I don't know where I was, but I do remember times playing basketball with it, with like a Lego bricks. I don't know if that's exactly the name, how I came up with it. I also remember typing into the store name field, a word or a sentence or something, and then just, I think initially it was going to be just another brick in the bucket or something like that, and then another didn't fit in the section, so I had to change it to just a brick in the bucket. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that's kind of the backstory there. But we ended with just a brick in the bucket because it fit exactly in the field of how many characters you were allowed to have for the name. But again, 5 years ago, I don't have that great of a memory. Second question is from Casey Diaz, who says, where do you source your new collectible minifigs, and how do you keep them priced under the retail price? That is something we are once again kind of struggling with, and we've hit a point where we aren't able to find any crazy deals on the CMFs. Back in February or March, maybe in March, early March, I found a seller on eBay who had like literally hundreds of the CMFs just listed on the store, and I started giving offers to certain ones. And eventually we came to an agreement where I would buy, I think I got 400 and something minifigs they all were under $2 a piece. When you averaged it all out, some of them were like $1, some of them were up to $3, but when you averaged all of them out, they were under $2 a piece, which was a great deal. And then most of them were just brand new, never felt, and stuff like that. So we really just got lucky is the answer, and that is something we're struggling with now. And we always have our eyes open when there's things, online, on eBay specifically. We'll have our eyes open. I'm not afraid to make an offer, and even a lowball offer. And if they accept it, awesome. If they don't, sometimes they'll give you a counter offer. If they don't give you a counter offer, maybe I'll bump it up a little bit. Just play around with it. But usually eBay has been the best place to buy the collectible minifigs. Lego for a while, I think, had a sale, and we bought a few from them. It was like, I want to say they were $1.19, but that does not sound right. And that was the Series 19. Maybe they were $2.19. I don't know. But they were very cheap, so we got a few of those from them. But again, the Series 19 minifig didn't sell fantastic. Next question from Aurora Flight. How do you know what the other piece is in a drawer if there's only one label on the drawer? So the answer to that, for example, this drawer here, 631, we have two pieces in it. We have a 1x8 plate, and then we have these little bow things. And the way we organize that is obviously there's a divider in the middle. But when we go back onto BrickLink, what we do is in the remark field for the piece, you just say it is in drawer 631, and then you save it. Now, you can go put another piece into that drawer, and then when you upload that new piece, you say this piece is also in 631, you just type that in the remarks field. So you can have multiple pieces there, and that works because we don't label our drawers with like what the piece is on the outside. It is only with a number. So once this drawer is empty, we can put whatever piece we find or whatever piece we want to put in here, and we'll assign that number to the drawer, or to the, that number to the piece in your BrickLink inventory in the remarks field, and then it's just, when you get the order, you'll know to look in that drawer for whatever piece is assigned to that remark. Hopefully that answered your question there. Another question from WJCD Martin. How do you raise your 6-foot tables? Are they PVC pipes? Yes, that is exactly what they are. So what this is here is about a 15-inch section of PVC that is 1.5 inches in the diameter of the pipe. And I said in the comment that I replied to it was 2 inches. I apologize for that. It's actually 1.5 inches, but essentially there's a bend in the table here
which allows where you place the PVC on it to kind of go up and then hit it so it can't actually bend. And that adds a good 8 to 10, probably 8 or 9 inches to the height of the table. So it's more at a standing height. It's just a real cheap, easy fix for making a standing table as opposed to a normal height.
And the next question is from Timothy from USA Bricks. What do you think the fate of the pick-a-brick walls will be? I'm worried they will not return for a while, if ever, with our current situation. I agree. I am concerned about the pick-a-brick walls. I don't expect to see them for a few years. Maybe not years, not a few years. Maybe another year or so. Maybe more. I could be wrong. Maybe less, but somewhere around a year, I'd say at least, before we see them being implemented back into the stores. I don't think they're going to get rid of all of them altogether because when you walk into a Lego store, the pick-a-brick wall is such an important part of that store. You always see that. You see this big wall filled with Lego pieces, even if it's only halfway full or a third full when they can't get those top ones, but it looks like it's full. And I think it's such an important part when you walk in. It envelops you in the Lego pieces. So I don't think they're going to be getting rid of any of those. I do think they obviously won't have them for a while. Something I think they might start doing, potentially, I could be wrong, is they'll just have employees maybe fill up the pick-a-brick cups, and they can be like pre-purchased cups that you can buy or pre-packed cups you can buy. But I'm not entirely sure. I don't think they're going to go away forever, though. I do wish they'd come back, but I understand with everyone reaching their hand in and all that stuff, that does make sense as to why, they're not here at the moment. Next question, Dakota Vandenberg. Approximately how long do you think it took when you first made your shop to get your first sale? 5 years ago? I have no clue. I can't tell you how long it was. Considering I only started out with, I literally opened the store and I just listed pieces one night, piece by piece by piece. So I probably had maybe 300 pieces at the end of the night there. It took probably a while, I would imagine. But when we recently reopened it in January, way at the beginning of this year, it took 3 days before we got our first sale. And now we started this year with 9,000 parts. So we listed it with 9,000 pieces. Opened the store this year with 9,000 pieces. And that kind of comes into a second question, which is, how many parts would you say is good to start out with? We started with 9,000 parts this year, and we obviously have grown to over 100,000 parts now, but we were getting pretty consistent sales. Even in the beginning, we were getting decent sales. Not that we were making over $1,000 a month. In January, we made, I think, just under $500 a month, or for that month at least. If you had to give you a number to say what is a good number to start out with, I would say $3,000 pieces might be an okay size to start out with the plans for expansion. Of course, that depends on what pieces are in your store, and is there a variety in your store? Do people want these pieces? So that's a really hard question, as a lot of these are. I can't give a super straight answer, and I apologize for that, but maybe 3,000 is a decent start with plans for expansion, or with a really good variety, or maybe you just focus on Bionicle parts or something, or whatever. Not a great example, but you could just focus on a niche like that. It really depends what you want to do, but here's another thing. If you only have 1,000 parts, don't not open your store. There's no point in not opening it. Just keep adding pieces as you're waiting for orders to come in. And as long as you have a good price on your pieces and you have variety, people are going to find your store. It'll just take some time. Next question here is from Comment 72. What is the biggest BrickLink order you have ever had to pick? So there's two different ways I look at BrickLink orders. You can look at it in the piece count or the lots count. So the biggest order in terms of pieces was 3,067 pieces, but it was only in 58 lots. So the way I look at it is pieces, if you have an order of 5,000 pieces, but it's only 5 lots, you just count 1,000 of each piece and you put it in the box and it's ready to go out. So you only had to go to the drawer or the bin or wherever you had to go for that piece 5 times because there were 5 different ones. In this case, for the 3,067 piece order, I had to go to 58 different stations or different locations where pieces were. The largest order in terms of lots was only 1,764 pieces, which isn't only, that's a lot of pieces still, but it had 324 lots. So that one took a lot more time to pack because I had to go to 324 different locations to go find and pull the pieces out for that order. I prefer, I don't care, obviously we're going to accept whatever order we get pretty much, but I prefer a high piece count, low lot ratio. But we'll take whatever. The last question this week is from Tom McGrath, and this is a good question, I think. How much of running the BrickLink store is actually just for fun versus time and profit? And I wouldn't do this if I didn't think it was fun and I didn't enjoy it. Because it wouldn't be worth the time or the little bit of profit that you can make from this if I was only doing this to try to make money. I do enjoy parting out sets. I enjoy packing orders. I enjoy shipping orders. I enjoy getting feedback. I enjoy giving feedback. Pretty much the entire process, while at times it might be frustrating and boring and feel really repetitive, I do enjoy the whole process. And I think that kind of shows, you know, having done this for 5 years on and off, I wouldn't have kept trying or kept continuing if I didn't enjoy it. Obviously, there is the potential to make profit at the end and stuff, but it is just for fun in a way. It's definitely something I enjoy, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. Those are all the questions this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or you know, maybe your question was answered in this video. Thank you guys again for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions for next week's episode, put them in the comment section of this video, or any video, but for that matter. I try to reply to every single one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.